To the blend. So they say that men are from Mars, women are from Venus. But when it comes to retirement planning, our next guests say couples need to make sure they're on the same planet, at least in the same solar system. That'd be helpful. Two of these Southern Nevada's premier retirement advisors, Abe Ashton and Nick Strobelt, they're here to break it down. They're from Ashton Strobelt, and they're fondly referred to as Nevada's retirement partners. Abe and Nick, great having you again.
Yeah, thanks for having us back. I can't believe they didn't ask you to shimmy.
Well, they were just shimmying out.
I know that, but they didn't ask you. So unbelievable. I thought for sure.
The last time they did, trust me, it's the liability. No one wants the liability.
Or the lawsuits.
Yeah, exactly. Let's talk about finances. This seems to be a thing that people they butt heads on these in relationships, and it seems to get to a fever pitch right around retirement. Yeah. Why is that?
The reason why it gets to a fever pitch is because they haven't been communicating the entire time and planning for retirement, Sean. And I had a great sit down last evening with a couple who is on the edge of retirement. The gentleman is 61 years old and the wife is 59 years old. And they know that they're going to retire sometime in the next 3 to 6 years. It depends on whether or not he wants to take on one more project. They said all they knew about retirement as an accountant once before said you have to have $1 million. We talked about that in the past, Sean.
Yeah,
is there a certain number? Yeah. And it was kind of a discouraging for them because they thought, well, we're not quite there to $1 million, and maybe we'll be, maybe we won't. We started to talk about details about what does it look like if you get your house paid off, and how much less savings do you have to have if the home is actually paid off. We started to talk about if they were going to have a second home or if they were going to be snowbirds, and started to understand Social Security and that income. And what they were having is they were having the first conversation about retirement together in front of me. So that's where it becomes very important to have had those conversations for 10, 15, 20 years before retirement. We were saying, what are our goals? What do we want to do? I asked them, what do you want to leave to the heirs after you're gone? And they said, we've never discussed it. Do we want to spend it all and have the last check to the undertaker bounce? Do we want to leave a lot of money to our kids? And they looked at each other and said, well, we've never actually had that conversation. So my first piece of advice, of course, would be to communicate about retirement, talk about what it looks like for you as a couple.
Absolutely. That's tip number one, as a matter of fact. And Nick, just to confirm, when you're doing your taxes and it asks what your profession is, it's not marriage counselor. It's financial planner.
Although that should be probably a secondary degree that we get to do this, but because it comes up so often. But like Abe said, it's often communication doesn't happen in finances nearly as much as it should. Yeah. And so when someone comes up to our office for the first time and says, hey, what's going on? We find that the husband tends to be very aggressive, or wants to be very aggressive because he wants to get lots of return potentially, and then the wife is much on the other side, more conservative, doesn't want to risk her money at all.
Such is life.
Yeah, and so we're on the other side saying, okay, there's got to be some negotiation that goes on to meet in the middle somehow. But what's surprising to many of our clients is that they find that the planning process has a way to not be very aggressive at all, but still accomplishing all the retirement goals that someone has for their entire lives. And so someone doesn't have to be that aggressive to really do well, which is nice.
Well, tip number two, this is speaking of aggressive, both people need to actually have skin in the game. Both have to have some sort of responsibility when it comes to finances, right?
They both have to have responsibility. I read a survey that said that there's something like 13 million Americans that had separate hidden accounts from their spouse. That's starting down the wrong path. There's another one that, another survey, I can't remember the exact percentage, but it was a great percentage of people who have spent more than 500, in a survey of those who have spent more, I think it was more than 20% of Americans have spent more than $500 without letting their spouse know. And my wife and I, we have a rule that, if we're going to spend more than $500, we'll let the other, not that it's permission, but we'll let the other spouse know that we're going to spend more than $500. So I always do $4.99 payment plans, so it's $25,000 later and 25 years later. So but the point being is, anytime we're going to spend more than $500, we at least do a shout out and say, hey, this is what's going to.
And that communication worked for you. That was unique for your household. That worked. Yeah. And everyone has their own thing that works for them.
Well, it's those secrets that'll end up getting you in hot water, both financially and relationship-wise, and that's why it's tip number 3, don't have secrets.
Don't have secrets. Financially, they will come out at some point. We talk about going to see the accountant almost like going to confession with a priest, because you're looking at the last 12 months of everything's going to start. You can't hide money from the IRS, which means when you're doing your taxes and a husband and wife both have to sign that return, all of a sudden if there was more income that came in than the family budget saw, where's the discrepancy here? Where did this money go? And the truth is instead of being afraid of that conversation, I think many spouses have some fear about having that conversation. Often we like to be in the room if it's the first time that they're going to have a retirement conversation, because we can take away some of the fear and they can talk about what they really want. I don't want to be the mediator, but sometimes we end up that way, but what we are is the clarifier. We get to take the unreal fears that they're worried about and say, that's not the fear at all. Here's something you may have to think about or worry a little bit about, but what you were already worried about is actually easily solved, and we can show them how to do that.
Quickly, you have a special offer for viewers this morning.
Yeah, we are offering for the first 10 callers to call in just a complimentary consultation. We've got a book when they call in for this complimentary consultation that we're going to give them when they show up to the book, or when they show up to the office. We're going to give them a copy of the Stress-Free Retirement. Excellent. And we'd love to have them come in, husbands and wives, to sit down and have that consultation. I know you want to show the socks.
We have 10 seconds
You've
left.
been waiting the whole time.
I want to make sure. You're going pink,
I'll
you're
go
going pink with the polka dots.
I'll go first, because I've got the pink and black polka dots.
Okay, and I am going full-blown cheeseburger.
Full-blown cheeseburger.
I don't know. I think Sean might have us beat this
There
time.
we go.
Sean's the winner.
Unbelievable.
Abe, I've stepped up my game. You watch out. It's great having you. Gentlemen,
very
thank you
much.
so much. Retirement Brothers, they have you set aside some time for you and your spouse. Maybe you should set aside some time for you and your spouse as well, and receive a complimentary appointment. First 10 callers, you're going to get in on this special. The number's right there on your screen. Abe and Nick, they can help you and your spouse retire successfully. For more information, right there on your screen, you can go to the website or call the phone number. They also have their own radio show that airs on 3 different stations in the area, and who knows, they could save your marriage. Up next.